As Bitcoin smashes through the $100,000 mark, many people are finally starting to wake up to the reality that Bitcoin is a global asset and is here to stay. But as we reach insane profit margins, many people like myself who have been in the game are wondering, is it time to start taking profits? Should we keep accumulating? Or if you don't have any Bitcoin, is now the time to start buying as we enter the real phase of the bull market? We can be looking at these questions and some of my preferred indicators in this video. As usual though, none of this is financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor.
Knowledge.
So to keep level-headed, I want to look at some preferred metrics I enjoy when I'm looking at Bitcoin valuations. First, we have the BTC cycles. You can get this on TradingView. And it plots cycle lows, undervalued, fair market values, aggressively valued, and overvalued zones. As you can see in Bitcoin's price history, as you can see, it definitely kept riding up in the cycle in 2017. And the previous cycle had a pretty good capture as well. So we're looking at these metrics. So right now, aggressively valued is about $112,000. Overvalued is at 145, the upper range. Now it can keep moving up as Bitcoin gets more and more aggressive in its price. You can also see on here, let's switch the weekly view. I have this upper threshold trend line. It's just a trend line. We're not going to bank too much on it. But right now, the upper trend line, let's go to about May, is about $210,000. So my original prediction was like $150,000, $200,000. So this is still in line, and I'm sure this overvalued zone will keep zooming up. So we still have a lot of room for growth. We look at the MVRV score. This is still pretty neutral. The red zone is times you should be looking at selling. You can see you had a couple blips, then it kept running up right there, but it does a pretty good job of capturing top-ish behavior, and we still have a long ways to run up. If we also look at the Bitcoin Extremes Cycles Oscillators, this uses a couple different metrics, MVRV, SOPR, Peel Multiple, and Reserve Risk. This also does a pretty good job of capturing the top, and we still have a long way to go. Now, you don't want to get psyoped during these runs when it still runs up all the way, but we even haven't had a blip on the radar yet of Bitcoin being close to its top price target. Lastly, I also like to look at the Pi Cycle Top Indicator, which uses two moving averages. As you can see, the long moving average 350, short moving average 111, and it's a pretty good indication of the top when the red crosses over the green line on this Pi Cycle indicator. And I also made an extrapolation of it as this is a decaying indicator. So you can see I distanced the plots between here, and each time it is decaying just a little, and this is a 100% cross. You can see that when the red crosses, it used to cross a little bit higher each time, a little bit higher, and it barely ticked last time at the last cycle top. So maybe when we get to around this like 90% area of the Pi Cycle Top Indicator, it's going to be start looking to take some profits. But right now you can see we still got a long way to go. A large gap was a lot closer earlier back in June, but there's a large gap now. So with all these indicators in mind, it definitely seems like we still have a lot of way to run with Bitcoin. There's still a large gap of price that can be filled if this bull run goes according to plan, especially with like the Trump strategic reserve, other countries adopting. There's a lot of room for Bitcoin to grow if it becomes this huge financial asset, which it already is. I should say a bigger financial asset than it already is. So for me, myself, I don't plan on taking any profits just yet. All these green arrows is when I was pointing out, hey, I'm accumulating some Bitcoin. I put videos out. And each one of these videos, you would have been up handsomely, especially this one back in August. You'd have be like almost a 3x from the time of that video. Even if you bought at the more unfortunate timings, like one of these, bought right out of the top sideways action, you still would have been up about 50% as of now. You would have had a little nasty drawdown, but it would have been pretty solid. So for me, I'm still accumulating, but all my major positions are held. It's just cash I'm getting from my income. But I have different expectations for this cash. I expect this to be a shorter term play. I don't expect us to completely moon and like Bitcoin to go to infinity. So I do plan on selling these positions once we get to this overvalued territory. From here, once we start getting there, let's say it's about a 50% gain. And we know in Bitcoin's history, Bitcoin can have a 30 to 40% correction during any bull market. We can see that right here. When we went from this top to this bottom, that was about a 30% correction. So it can happen any point of the bull market. Are we just going to keep mooning up? Are we going to have another sideways consolidation? I'm leaning more bullish, but we truly never know. So right now, the risk to reward is not as skewed compared to back in August, where if there was a 30% correction, you'd have been back down at $20,000. But we knew it was going to hit over $100,000. So you had a 30% correction to a 300% gain, which is a really good risk to reward. So right now, it's definitely not as good, but I'm still going to keep accumulating. So if you don't have any bags, maybe accumulate over the next week, the next month, and just see what happens. But this is not financial advice, but I loaded my bags early, so that's on you guys to figure out. Now, in a longer term play, though, I still plan to always hold some Bitcoin. I plan to have a specific amount I never sell. Let's pretend the super cycle meme is real. It just keeps going up forever. Strategic reserve gets passed. Countries are buying Bitcoin, and then there's no supply left. Sure, I would have took some profits. It would have been a fumble on my part because I could have let it road to $1 million or whatever. But at least I still had some, and a small amount will definitely stack in some large profits. And I'm still going to hold some in my Roth IRA that I'm never going to sell. And that'll be also really long-term bags till retirement for 30 years. That's going to be a large gain on those cryptos. But I am planning to sell a large portion of my gains once this Bitcoin cycle valuation indicator gets to overvalued territory. Pi cycle gets to the overheated. Same with the MVRV Z-score, along with this Bitcoin cycle's extreme oscillator. Once these get to overvalued, I'm going to start taking some profits on my older bags. Now, to keep myself sane, because last bull run I held all the way from the top to the bottom, I don't want to make that same mistake. I'm going to be posting at least monthly updates on where we are at in these overvaluation zones, since it's going to be starting time to look at those things to start taking profits if you've been here for a long time. I don't want to make the same mistake as I did last year and then watch all my gains erase away, especially since I got in quite early and it's time to start taking profits and looking at houses. So if you want to be along for that ride, definitely subscribe, like this video so you can get these regular updates so we can all stay sane when the mania comes. And if you need another Bitcoin video to watch, check out my preferred Bitcoin ETF right here. Peace.